Australia's recession may be technically over, but a long and bumpy economic recovery is only just beginning. That was the verdict of the Treasurer today after the latest set of national accounts figures. The economy grew 3.3% in the September quarter, the biggest jump in more than 4 decades. It follows a run of 2 consecutive negative quarters as the COVID-19 pandemic ended 29 years of uninterrupted growth. The Governor of the Reserve Bank has warned the next 2 years will still be tough for many Australians, with high unemployment and low wages growth. Political editor Andrew Probyn reports.
Good afternoon.
Good news has that unmistakable look.
The Australian economy is coming back. The trend is our friend here.
Bouncing back into growth after 2 consecutive quarters of going backwards.
Technically, the recession is over, but the recovery is not.
The national accounts dramatically illustrating the ruin that comes from a once-in-a-generation pandemic.
As you can see, it's a story of the restrictions being eased.
Down 0.3% in the March quarter, then a whopping 7% in the June quarter. The economy surged 3.3% in the September quarter, the biggest 3-month GDP increase since 1976. Year on year, the economy shrunk 3.8%. Cash registers ringing across the country as Australians emerge from shutdowns to spend in restaurants, on elective surgery and travel.
A 7.9% increase in household consumption, the largest increase on record.
There are no surprises here when you consider that most of the Australian economy reopened during this period.
Victoria, the exception. Its extended lockdown keeping doors and wallets shut. Victorian consumer spending continuing to tumble in the September quarter when the rest of the country was recovering well.
The road ahead will be long, hard and bumpy.
We have now turned the corner.
The Reserve Bank Governor tentatively predicting the worst is over, but there's a catch, or a few in fact.
Australia is likely to experience a run of years of relatively high unemployment being too high, and wage increases in inflation being too low.
Even though the coronavirus recession will have a long tail, Philip Lowe says unemployment won't peak as high as first feared. And while the Australian economy might be in better health, it's still smaller than it was pre-pandemic. But there's a statistic mentioned by the Treasurer today that's not in the national accounts. No one with COVID is in ICU or on a ventilator. If we keep that going, the economic recovery is assured. Andrew Probyn, ABC News, Canberra.
The recovery that's underway is fuelled by household spending, but big pockets of pain remain. Spending and investment fell in Victoria, and the Reserve Bank has warned we face years of high unemployment.
What COVID downturn? Byron Bay is booked out. Tourists have been flooding back for several months now.
It's been such a godsend for all of us. We're doing really well and we're so happy that we're getting so many repeat guests coming back.
Freed from the toughest restrictions, most of the country is out and about again and spending their money as JobKeeper and other support continues.
I think most of the recovery is essentially government support. So I think fiscal policy has been the number one redeeming feature in terms of getting out of the recession.
Spending rose after an unprecedented fall the previous quarter. People dropped more cash at hotels, cafes and restaurants, on health and recreation as social distancing measures eased. And that meant people were saving slightly less. But household saving compared to disposable income is still near record levels. The recovery isn't being felt evenly. Spending in Victoria fell. Jessica Litsis and her husband are both on JobKeeper as their cinema was forced to shut again during the state's second lockdown.
When it dropped from $1,500 a fortnight to $1,200 a fortnight, our family budget decreased by $600, and that's a lot of money. Like, that's not only groceries, bills, but childcare.
The cinema is now reopen, but it's nowhere near back to normal. While household spending is recovering, business investment fell 3%. With the virus still spreading overseas, many companies are cautious.
I won't be spending any money this year or next year. I think I just want to stay tight
Even in bustling Byron Bay, nothing is being taken for granted. Stephanie Chalmers, ABC News.